All right. All right. Well, Ashley, I am just so excited to have you on. This is such an honor. I first want to let you know I freaking love following you on IG, as I was kind of mentioning before. I see what you do. I listen to your posts. I listen to your videos, and I just want to let you know you are just showing up so truly authentic, and you're inspiring so many to be real and to radiate their inner confidence and their light in both business and life. So as you are a fellow podcaster, I know that, we have great guests on, but it's not really about the guests. It's about how we are hosting and how we are showing up. That's really going to attract the audience. Mm-hmm. So I know you've done a lot of personal development work, so I want to dive mostly into that, but of course I want to share all of your journey. So if we could dive in, if you could share to those listening, what is your expertise and how have you been evolving over the years?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for that beautiful acknowledgement. And it just fills my heart with such joy, because that's all I want at the end of the day, is to cause a ripple effect, to create impact, and, one person at a time. So it's beautiful to hear that from you. So thank you. And I'm so happy to be here. And so, okay, my expertise is really twofold. Okay. So I have my branding, my marketing, which is my technical background. So that's what I majored in college, and right out the gate out of college, I was working for a Mark Cuban Shark Tank company. And that's where I really got my footing, laid the foundation for everything I do. And since then I've started my own business, and I support conscious personal brands and amplifying their online presence so that it accurately reflects who they are and speaks to their power, and of course converts so they can make more money and impact. So that's that half of me, right? And then I have the other half, which we'll probably be focusing on today, which is my whole self-development side of my business. And that's where I wrote my book from. That's really my soul's work. And so I coach women and really guiding them through to their authentic self. So it was cool to hear you say that I come off authentic on, on my Instagram and everything, because that really is my contract. That is what I want to create within. And that's what I want to ripple out and inspire in other women, that they can really embrace, love, appreciate, and express who they authentically are, and be in their power and radiate out that what I call magnetic confidence. So that was the inspiration behind my book. And I really share my journey in there. And I share tools that I've learned along my journey in there as well, to support women who are where I once was. And where I was before is complete. I mean, I would not be on camera. I would not be speaking on stages. I would not be creating video content. Oh no, like I was a whole different person. And I'm excited to kind of, jive with you about that. But really my mission on that side of my business is to support women in getting to that point, getting to the other side of their anxiety, of their self-doubt, of their fears, so that they can really truly be their authentic, radiant, magnetically confident selves.
I love all that, because that is the number one key to actually creating a brand, is being authentic, like being relatable, really sharing all the darkness, the lightness, whatever it may be, so we could show up more human, right? Because we all have this dark and light side of us. And so once we reveal it to others, people are able to relate to us. And that's what I love. So as you talked about, you've been on quite the journey in personal development. So I would love to kind of hear what has been the catalyst to propel you into your personal development. Like, what made you discover that you had to do some work, if you want to say, on yourself?
Yeah. Well, I definitely have what I call my altar call moment. So my pivotal point in my life, though I was raised with an incredible father who had quotes all over the walls, the way I earned my allowance was to read self-development books that were tagged at a certain price point. Like he took me to Tony Robbins when I was 14, John Kehoe. The thing is when he was doing that with me, I was so young. I don't think I fully was absorbing it. And I was really, I struggled a lot growing up. And so I was in a really dark place for most of all of my teenage years, my preteen years, and my young adult life as well. So that pivotal moment for me happened when I did a transformational training called Ascension Leadership Academy in San Diego. And that was a 4-month long journey, deep, experiential, transformational, interruptive, uncomfortable journey that I chose to go on because it was that time. I knew that I no longer, I was at that point where it's like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to go for whatever lands in my lap because I'm sick and tired of waking up in the morning, curled up in a ball, wanting to disappear. I was tired of feeling just completely inauthentic for one. Like I wasn't being who I really was. I felt alone. I felt disempowered, and I had really bad anxiety. So I was diagnosed with severe anxiety disorder, and I was living a very painful life. And it got to that point, that threshold where I just knew that something needed to change. And of course, something plopped onto my lap. My best friend at the time actually invited me to go with her into ALA. And I was like, all right, I'm doing it. And ever since that, my life has never been the same. That was truly the catalyst for all of the transformation that I've had over the last, that was about 5 years ago now. So,
Oh, wow. And so it
yeah.
sounds like, being that I'm following you, it sounds like you're still deepening your personal development. So what has really evolved? Because I believe it's a journey. It never ends. It's even our being our authentic self. We're always evolving and changing based on our surroundings. So how has your development changed over the last 5 years, since that was 5 years ago? What has been recently something you've been doing to deepen your development with self?
So I always, ever since I did that, I've always had a coach. So I truly believe that, yes, I'm not saying that you can't get to where you want to go on your own. Okay, I'm not saying that that's not possible. Of course that's possible. But doing it on your own is like, if I want to get to here to Japan, and let's say Japan is that final destination that I want to get to, right? That's where I want to be. I want to be, that can signify happiness, joy, fulfillment, whatever it is, right? So let's say that's here to Japan. Well, I could get a rowboat and I could row my boat to Japan and I could get there eventually. Or I could take the jet plane. You see what I'm saying? So the jet
Yeah.
plane is investing in yourself, getting mentorship, getting guidance, getting coaching. You will, of course, I'm not saying that you wouldn't get there without that, but you will get there a hell of a lot faster if you continuously invest in yourself. And of course, it's scary and uncomfortable because you're placing bets on yourself. You're placing
Right.
bets on yourself, and but it's a absolute must. And as we know, that quote that I say all the time is, the biggest growth happens outside of our comfort zone. So I want to feel uncomfortable. If I know that if I'm not feeling uncomfortable, then I am playing small and I'm moving slow. So with me, since I did that ALA transformational training, I've continuously invested in myself in multiple ways. You know, I'm a part of 2 mastermind groups right now. I'm leading one, my own. And I have 2 coaches right now, one for my personal life, one for my business.
Amazing.
And it's like, transformation is not a destination. Transformation is a lifestyle. It is a choice that you make every single day. And it's all about the journey. So that's my belief now. And that's how I live my life ever since that moment 5-6 years ago. That's been my journey.
I love that. It's such a good thing to hear, that we have to get uncomfortable sometimes to maximize our growth. And I remember when I started working with my life coach for the 3rd time, I didn't have the means, but I knew I needed it. I needed that accountability. I needed that person to be by my side, like pushing me to excel my growth. And I didn't have the means, but it changed everything for me. It got me to where I wanted to somewhat be, so I can now take the next step in my life. And, again, having that accountability, it makes all the difference. So sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
also saying yes when we want to say no, because that's exactly what we need. It's so critical. I believe the same thing. So I know you mentioned your biggest struggle was anxiety. How did you really overcome that? Because I know that some people will do plant medicine or CBD or take medication. How did you really overcome that? Because I think many women, especially today, anxiety is a number one thing that is debilitating to, going to the next level. So how did you really overcome it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you would have told me back when I was popping pills every day for my anxiety, that I would be able to overcome it by shifting my thoughts, I'd be like, BS, BS, BS. You don't understand me. I was so attached to my identity of like
Mm,
needing of, you know what I mean? It was like I had my crutch and I was stubborn there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure people listening can relate. You probably know someone that's like that. They really identify with their diagnosis. And so I was diagnosed with severe anxiety disorder. And I did not know. I thought I would be taking pills for the rest of my life. Okay. I haven't taken a single pill in 5 years. So, and I have completely, it, it's just, it's crazy for me to even think about where I was to where I am today, and going from having anxiety attacks, like I was on the floor at my office. My boss came in and I was on the floor. I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was intense. To now, I don't even know the last time I had an anxiety attack. I know I've learned the tools. So the biggest thing to answer your question really is, yes, shifting your thoughts. I have a quote. Remember I told you my dad had quotes all over the walls? The
yes.
one quote that he had everywhere, that actually have tattooed on my side now, it's one of my all-time favorite quotes, and it is, your thoughts create your words create your actions create your character, and your character determines your destiny. So it starts
Love
with a
that. Yeah.
thought. Starts with a thought. And so it was the way that I was thinking about things. I was rarely present, because when you're anxious, you're either worrying about something that happened, that already
Right.
happened, that's no longer happening, that's no longer here, it's not happening anymore, or we're seeing something in the future that we're worried about happening that also isn't happening. They're both, they don't exist. That's an illusion, and that's the past. They're both no longer present. So I was rarely ever in the present moment. So one of the biggest things I learned was how and what it actually means. Like, you hear it all the time, be present, be present, be present. What does that actually even mean? It literally means that you are sitting within your body and you are surrendered. Okay. Surrendered was a huge word for me, because I was
Mhm.
always, anxiety comes from this fear of losing control, right? We want to be in
Right.
control of things. So if you have a controller type personality, I do. We're wanting to control these outcomes and situations. And then when it doesn't go to plan, we're like, we lose our minds, we break apart. It's that control, right? So for me, now presence to every person may mean something different, but for me, when I finally understood what it meant for me, it was surrendering. It was surrendering to what is and accepting what is in that moment. That right there, that practice changed my life. I mean, I cannot tell you how critical it was for me to have that awakening about the importance of presence. So that right there is the first one. And then the tools that I learned, right? Processes that I take myself through to this day, that I teach my clients, that I teach my students, that is in my book, that I take myself through to this day, that has helped me. And something I always say is, look, people are always doing the best that they know how, given what they know or don't
Mhm.
know, given the tools they have or don't have, period. So I was doing the best that I knew how then, because I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't know what I didn't know. So now I have the tools, and I'm continuously learning new tools. Like I said, always investing in myself, because I know new levels, new devils. We're always growing, we're always evolving. And with that comes triggers, and with that comes
Right.
discomfort. And so it's the tools really. And there's several, but the presence one for me was the biggest thing that stuck out when you asked me that question. So it's huge.
I love that. I think that's so critical to learn. And I like you and my kind of, I like to be in control, right? And that's where the anxiety comes in, is trying to take control of your future and control what's happened in the past, or even control
Mhm.
the present. So I would be curious if you could share, besides that, what would be one tool is your like go-to that you recommend clients?
Yeah, so my favorite tool is, and actually have an on my IGTV, I broke it down. I have an episode on it.
Great.
So it's called CFFC. Okay, so I journal through this process. I highly recommend doing so. There's so much power in journaling. So just getting out a journal, piece of paper, whatever, and walking yourself through this process. So the first C stands for concern. Okay, so that's the thing that it's the most easily identifiable thing, right? Like, you know what you're concerned about. So it's the surface concern, as I like to say, like, what's bothering you? Oh, my boyfriend never called me back last night. Whatever, right? Whatever the thing is, write that down. The F that comes afterward is fear. So the question that you ask yourself before you start journaling about the fear is, what am I making that mean? So let's just use that example. My boyfriend never called me last night. What am I making that mean? And keep asking yourself, what am I making that mean? What am I making? Oh, he didn't think about me. Well, what does that mean? He didn't think about me. So what does that mean? Oh, he doesn't care about me. You start writing out all of the things, keep asking yourself, okay, and so what? So what? So what? Unravel. Think of the second F as peeling back onion layers. That's going to be at least a paragraph, probably two or three. So you're going to be writing out all the things that you're making that mean. Go all the way until you literally can't ask yourself, so what anymore? Or what are you making that mean anymore? Okay. So that's F. Why that piece is so critical is because we are meaning making machines. We may say that this is what's bothering us, but that's really not it. That's just the surface. It's actually what's happening underneath that. All of the meanings we're attaching to that thing that's having us, it's our
Yeah.
interpretations, in other words, that's having us feel so mad, sad, frustrated, whatever the emotion is, right? And you start to unravel that, and you'll see, okay, these are the stories I'm making up. Is another thing I say all the time. What is the story you're making up about that fact? The fact is a concern. He didn't call me last night. You're making up a ton of stories about that. So
Absolutely.
after
Been
you
there,
write,
done that.
yeah, after you write, yeah, yeah, totally, right?
So many
All of us
times.
have. Oh yeah, for sure. Whole narrative, right? We're like,
Yeah.
whole narrative, whole imaginary story, fantasy. So then after that, you ask yourself a very critical question. After you journal all that stuff out, you say, can I know with 100% certainty that any of those things are 100% true? Okay. So you must answer this question honestly. Okay. Can I know? And this is, by the way, I learned this from Byron Katie. It's one of her methods. She asks it a little different way. Just shout out to her, because she's been one of the teachers of my whole transformational journey that I really,
Amazing.
yeah, she's amazing. So you ask yourself, can I with 100% certainty know that any of that is 100% true? Well, the answer is no, because they're all stories that you made up. Okay. So they're not true, and you can't prove any of those, right? He doesn't care about me. Do you really know that that's true? No, you don't know that. Right. So once you interrupt yourself and you acknowledge that you cannot know that any of that is true, the second F in the process is faith. What can I know with 100% certainty is true? Well, my boyfriend chose me and he's still with me. That's his choice, right? Whatever. My boyfriend told me 2 days ago that he was crazy in love with me and he wants to spend the rest
Mm-hmm.
of his life with me. Whatever. I'm giving you all these things, right? So write down fact, fact of what you do know to be true. Whenever I go through things, like I've had this for all kinds of things in my life. For example, I had this in Italy. There's a profound moment where I took myself through this. Oh, sorry, it was France. I was in Nice, France, and I was sitting out on the balcony, and I had a concern that I was not going to hit my income goal. Okay. So it was a financial concern. I took myself through this process. And when I got to faith, something that always hits me, my dad told me this when I was really young, and I really do believe that this is true, and because I have evidence, is I've always figured it out. I've always figured it out.
Yeah.
I've never not figured it out. I'm here right now. I've
It's
never not
amazing.
figured it out. Right. That's one thing that I write consistently, for things like that. Like I'll write that out, and it just brings me so much peace to write that out and remember that truth that I have. So that's an example of another truth. So you write down all your 100% truths and as your faith statements. What you'll notice is as you go from the fear to the faith, you're literally shifting your energy.
Mhm.
I promise you will feel a immediate shift as you're writing out your truth statements. You will feel less heavy. You'll feel lighter. You'll feel your whole energy transforming. It's the most magical thing because you've literally transformed fear to faith. And then from that point, after you write down all your faith statements, the final part of the process is the final C, which is creation. So what am I going to create now that I'm grounded in my truth? I'm going to, for example, let's use the boyfriend example because I don't know why I thought of that, but there we go. So I'm going to write my boyfriend the most loving letter. I'm going to be what I wish to see, right? I'm going to write him a loving letter, just sharing how much I appreciate him, whatever. You'll notice you'll get all of these ideas all of a sudden,
Downloads. Yeah.
like downloads. Why? Because you put yourself in alignment with your truth.
Mm,
And
I
that's
love
when you're
that.
tapping
Love that.
in to all of these infinite possibility realm, so that is so going back to my niece example, when I was in France, the next week, I shit you not. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on here.
That's
I
fine.
kid you not.
No,
I
you're
kid
good.
you not. The following week, within 7 days, I closed close to $20,000 in sales in a 7-day period the following week. Because I had all these downloads. I'm like, oh, I'll do this, because I was tapped in this self-eating, sabotaging place of fear. I was now in my faith. So that's one of my favorite processes that I teach. That
I
was kind of
love
long,
that.
but
And
there you go.
no, it's great because that is the process of rewriting your limiting beliefs as well. It's like the Zach process. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so essential to learn. And like you said, journaling it and actually getting clear of what limitations are holding you back and and ask yourself, is that really true? I remember going through that process when you mentioned boyfriend, that was like literally the spiral I kept on going, like, oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't love me because he hasn't texted me back in 15 minutes or whatever. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
just
Yep.
stupid shit. So,
I feel you, sister. I feel you.
but
100%.
and so talking about the creating and being in alignment with what we want to bring into our life. I know you talk a lot about this, so I want to kind of pull this out as you're speaking about this, is you share the importance of shining our light on our darkness and being willing to step into our darkness so that we can actually uncover our light. So what do you think is going to give us the courage to go to those dark places? Why is this so essential, developing the confidence, the courage, and everything? And how would you say
Mm-hmm.
we should allow ourselves the process of stepping into the uncomfortableness of our darkness?
Yeah. Well, that's such a good question. I love that question. So thank you for asking it. It's so important. I have a whole chapter on my book. It's called Face the Ugly. That's what it is. So the reason why it's so important is because if we're not facing it, if we're not in ownership of it, accepting it, what are we doing? We're resisting it, right? We're resisting it. We're running from it. We're sweeping it under the rug. We're going, I don't want to look at that ugly stuff, right? What we resist persists.
All the
What
time.
we resist persists, and it actually festers and grows, because typically what we do when we resist something is we're actually, for some reason, we're having judgments about it, right? We have our own judgments about whatever that darkness is, whatever that thing you did, whatever that thing that happened. We have our own judgments around it. So we're actually shaming. We're actually judging. So that's literally darkness on top of darkness, darkness on top of darkness. So then you actually are doing the opposite of what you think you're doing when you're running toward the light, let's say, right? So the reason that's so important is because you cannot overcome something that you refuse to even acknowledge exists. You can't
So
fix
true.
something that you don't even acknowledge exists. Period. End of story. Done. Like that is the absolute essential. So I was doing this with myself. I had a lot of skeletons in my closet. I had a lot of things that I didn't want to look at. And honestly, I was in a total denial state. I was like, well, those things aren't affecting me. Like, I'm good. Right. Like, we go in this, like, we're like, I have a stubborn racket. Okay. So she comes out every now and then and she's like self-righteous and she thinks she knows it all. And she's like, no, I got this, whatever. I don't need to look at that stuff. That's done. It's over with. No. Again, what we resist persists. We must be willing to go there. And here's the thing that I also always say is we must find the beauty in the contrast. Light cannot exist without darkness. Light is actually born from darkness. I don't know if you've read the book, The Vortex by Esther Hicks.
I haven't, no.
Oh, I highly recommend anyone listening,
Okay.
like watching you, like, amazing book. But she says that out of darkness is where potentials are born, because we wouldn't know or be able to think of an improved experience if we weren't in this current dark experience. That's where the potentials are born from. What a cool, shift in how we think about challenging moments. So when we look at it from that mindset, that right there will give you the reason, I like to call, fire behind your desire to overcome it, because we know that something, if we're willing to face it, something greater, we're allowing something greater to be born, right? So it's a beautiful acknowledgement process. And what you'll also find is you're making up stories, like we just talked about, of why, like, for example, I shared a post and it was probably one of my most top engaging posts that I've done to date, where I let out skeletons publicly. Do you want to know how scary that was? Like, I was hovering that button to post it. I was like, Ashley, are you really going to do this? Like, your mom might see this, your dad might see this, like, oh, and I put the stuff, like, I put that I had an affair with a married man. I put that I used to steal when I was in high school. Like, I put all the things that I was carrying shame about for so many years.
Yeah.
And what are we worried about in that moment? We're worried that if I share this, people may reject me. People may judge me. Here's the thing. There's two truths to that. First truth is people will judge.
Yeah.
Reality check. Like,
it's okay.
People judge. It happens. And guess what? It's also a projection of how they judge themselves. It has nothing to do with you. So let them be. That's their business. Okay. What are you making that mean? What are you making their judgments about you mean? Okay. So again, just interrupting that is not, their truth doesn't have to be your truth. All right.
Right.
So that's the first thing. So accept that as truth. And the second truth is, you will be very pleasantly surprised about how many people you inspire into the light through you shining light on your darkness. Like, you are going to inspire and give permission to other people to do the same. Like I said, the engagement on that post was incredible. I had not ever anticipated that I was going to get that many DMs from that many, like, additional people joining my tribe. The virality of it, the ripple effect of it was massive, because when we have the courage to own our darkness and actually shine light on it, we are literally simultaneously healing our heart and other people's at the same time. It's a beautiful, beautiful ripple effect.
I love that you shared that. And it's such a scary place to go to. And I know, like you said, you were so hesitant because, am I not going to be loved? Am I going to be judged and all that stuff? Like you said, regardless, we're going to be judged. And that's what social media kind of is. It's like just a whole platform of judgment. But the thing is, when you step into that vulnerability and being authentic and sharing your truth, you're releasing that weight on your shoulders. And who knows who you're inspiring. I remember I recently shared this on a podcast, and I have not shared this with, like, probably only 4 people in my life know this about me. And I was sharing this period of my life where I shared something that was basically me wearing a mask, pretending to be something I wasn't, or just wanting to be liked more, or just stand out more and be special. We do that. And I shared on this episode that I think I was 11. And this is a long time ago, right? This is my childhood, but it was an example to me of how I wasn't being authentic, and I just wanted to be liked for maybe
Yeah.
something else. And I shared that I had 2 lies that I would share to people that were close to me, that my uncle was Tom Cruise and that my boyfriend was Eddie Furlong. The stupidest lies. I could laugh at it right now, but I know why I was doing it. I was literally doing it as wearing this mask to show up as something special or to stand out, to be popular, whatever it may be. And that was just me being my inauthentic self and, not loving me for who I was, and people just knowing me and accepting me. So I'm able to look at that reality now. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
we always, when we share our vulnerability and share our struggles, there's going to be somebody that will relate to it, and people will be thankful that we shared it because it gives them permission to then share
Hey,
their
that
struggles.
that is that is magnetic confidence. That is what I mean when I say magnetic confidence. The
Mm.
word magnetic, it's not, confidence is one thing. Magnetic, it means you become polarizing and you're okay
Mm.
with that. You repel those who are not in alignment and you attract those who are. Look at the most successful people in the world. They're very polarizing. They really are. They're magnetic. Even look at Gary V's, one of my most highly valued mentors that I have. He's very, you either love him or you don't. Like, he's got a very strong opinion about things and he's not afraid
Mm-hmm.
to share it. And in doing so, look at what he's created. And so
Mm-hmm.
we need to remember that, and actually it's so funny that you're bringing this up, because I had this morning, I have, like I said, my mastermind group going on. One of the ladies in my group has a really powerful story of how she overcame opiate addiction. So
Mm.
she is finally courageous enough to share her story on social media. It was big. Okay, it was like she was terrified and she finally did it. She got pushback from one of her friends, texted her and said, you really need to be careful. Da, da, da. Her, again, projection from her own friends' judgments and fears. And she took my coaching so beautifully. And what I told her is, look, I want you from this point forward to look at all the pushback, all the resistance, all the haters that you get as evidence that you are playing big. If
Love
you're
that.
not getting, if you're not getting haters, if you're not getting pushback, then girl, you get to stand so much, be more bold, more brave, and stand even more in your truth, because that is a measurement of your polarization. And that shift right there will transform the way that you show up, so that you do show up authentic. And if you do have a strong opinion about something, it doesn't matter, right, wrong, good, bad, again, all judgments. Share it. It may change. You may change your opinion. I know I have a couple of things I've shared in the past. My opinions have changed since then. However,
Yeah.
we got to be brave to share our truth now. Life is now.
Well, I have a couple of things to respond to that. So actually what you just shared, I don't know if you know Heather Monahan. She was on my podcast and she talks a lot about confidence. So she shared the same thing, that she started to have all these haters coming at her. And she's like, you know what? When it first comes, you're like, how do I handle it? But it was confirmation to her that she's doing something right, that she's standing up for something.
Yeah.
And through that, you're going to get the people that like you or you don't. And regardless, you're living your truth, right? You're standing up, you're being seen, and you're going to stand
Yep.
out that way. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious your opinion on the whole cancel culture bit, which I despise, but I'm curious, since you are out there on social media, you post a lot of your truth, you speak up if you have an opinion about something. I'm curious, how do you handle the whole cancel culture, and are you more cautious in what you would say because of it, or how are you navigating around it?
So can you kind of describe to me what you mean by that a little more? Because I don't think I understand the
So the
question.
cancel culture, like a lot of people, if you say a statement that is around Black Lives Matter, or you say something around politics, obviously a hot topic right now, if you say something in some regard where you're taking a side, then you'll get
Mm-hmm.
just people coming at you. Or the cancel culture, there's been people that are fired from the entertainment business because of something they said like 7 years ago. So I'm
Mm.
curious, how do you navigate that situation when you're sharing something so vulnerably or authentic, or sharing your truth?
I make sure it's not coming from emotion. So right now, with everything that's been going on, people are getting very emotional. Okay, emotionally attached, emotionally triggered. Um, my dad used to say all the time, actually, don't make any decisions when your emotions are high, because when emotions are high, intelligence is low. He'd
That's
say
like a
emotions are
blanket
high.
statement, by the way. We should never react from emotion or
Yeah,
say anything
totally.
from, yeah.
Oh, 100%, 100%. So, but the thing is that the reality is people are getting very emotional right now. They really are. And
Mm.
that's okay. I'm not making your emotions wrong. What I'm saying though is, if you choose to speak your truth, make sure that you have sat with it. Make sure you can be passionate. Passionate's different than being emotional. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be passionate about what you believe coming from a grounded space. You must also realize that yes, you must accept. You must accept that there may be consequences. You know, I have a friend who's been really posting some he won't care if I even name drop here because he's public about it. Yahya Bakar. Check out his Instagram. You'll see he's been posting a ton of stuff that's very controversial. And I just shot him a message. I'm like, I'm so proud of you, brother. Like, I'm so proud of you. He is risking his platform. Totally. His platform could be deleted at any day. Now that
Mm.
is courage. He's accepted those consequences. He's publicly said that he knows that that could happen. And he's okay with it. He's like, I would rather go down speaking the truth, speaking my truth, and causing the ripple effect I want to create as much as I possibly can, then go down being muted, silent, oppressed. You know what I mean? So he has a very strong stance. So whatever you decide, yes, you must be grounded in your, not be emotional, be grounded in your truth, and accept the fact that you are going to get you're gonna get, I was gonna say whiplash, you're gonna get pushback, you're gonna get whiplash. You're gonna
Similar.
get
No.
maybe whiplash, but you're gonna get pushback, and you may, and most likely will, have consequences, and you just got to accept that, because that's part of. And I told my student today that's in my mastermind, or my client today that's in my mastermind, is that is part of the deal she made. It's part of the deal she made when she decided to share her story. It's part of the deal, you know, and it's not a guarantee. It might not have, like, Yaya is still going strong. He is still sharing and he's good. He's been just, more people he's become completely polarizing. Like, if you want to see an example of what I mean by like being polarizing, check out his stuff, because he's become completely, absolutely polarizing. And that took courage for him. And I admire him for that. So that's what I would have to say about that. Hope that lands for people listening.
Yeah, yeah. And can we talk about your book a little bit? I think you published this a couple years ago, but magnetic confidence, and that's to attract in your life and your business. I know you spoke about you weren't always confident. You obviously radiate confidence now, and I know it's a learned skill. It's a skill we develop. So how did you really? I mean, I'm sure you share all these steps, and you shared one of them, but in being this confident woman you are now, what has been the biggest game changer in your life and your business to bring you more confidence and develop your confidence? What is the biggest
Mm-hmm.
step you have made?
Well, one thing I just want to comment on what you said is, yes, it is. I call it a muscle. Okay. Confidence is a muscle. I don't like to say that it is, and again, it's all interpretation. So no good, bad, right, or wrong, that it's a skill, because what I believe truly, we were all born with confidence. When you were a 3-year-old girl,
True.
I guarantee you were running around the house butt ass naked, just like free as a bird, you know, and didn't have a care. You didn't care who was judging you for your little belly rolls. You didn't care who was, you know, what they were thinking about you. You were just doing you, and you were free, and you were happy, and you were confident. Well, stuff happened along the way, and that muscle got weaker and weaker because you decided to stop using it. So because you decided, oh, well, that happened, so I'm never going to do that again. Oh, well, that happened, so I'll never try that again. So that's what happened. So what I say confidence is it's an unused muscle. If you're not confident at this point in life, if you're not confident, you have an unused muscle. So how do you build confidence? You put in the reps. just like you would build a booty. I actually did build a booty. If you know my whole
That's
story,
great.
I started on Instagram with the 14-day booty challenge, and I was doing fitness videos. And so I went from having literally no butt, like I'm part Asian, so like flat butt, to now having a butt. And so, how did I do that?
Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, it felt very awesome, because you know what felt so awesome about it is I had a belief that I was dealt a card. I had a
Mm,
belief that I was just dealt a card, and that's just my body, and it's in my genes, and it's, you know, well, that's just, I'm gonna have a bony butt for life, whatever.
yeah.
Well, I challenged that belief and I created the result.
Love that.
So yeah, so it's really what that was actually a big a life lesson for me, that fitness lesson. So anyways, you got to get in. Just like I built my booty, I had to get in there, do the squats, do the lunges. And guess what? When you first start working out, as any of you know who has worked out in your life, you know that the first few reps are the hardest. The first few trips to the gym are the most uncomfortable. You're looking at the machine and the equipment like, how in the hell do I use this shit? Oh God, like this is different. Oh, that feels weird. And you don't even know if you're doing it right, right? You're questioning everything. So the first few reps are always the hardest and always the most uncomfortable. From there, it will get easier. From there, you will grow and you will expand, and then it will become like second nature. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And for example, you do a lot of live videos. And so I'm sure when you were first doing that, it was super uncomfortable and you're like, I'm not saying this right. I'm stumbling upon my words. And the thing is, we just
Oh
have to
yeah.
do it. You have to, the only way
Do
you'll
it anyway.
achieve being a great speaker is you need to start speaking, start showing up.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so important. What was some radical changes you made in your life to help you build more confidence in your life and career? Was there any radical changes you made that were probably stripping your confidence? For example, obviously, so many people struggle with comparison. So I don't know if possibly that was anything you ever struggled with, building your business or, building your confidence.
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah, comparison of the yin yang. I was looking at other, see, here's the shift, right? Is I was looking at other women in complete resentment. So I was
Mm.
looking at them, if they had what I wanted, I didn't like them for that. I was jealous. I was envious. And then I would make myself feel crappy about where I'm at. Right. So it was just like really icky. I mean, those of you listening know, if you've ever gotten in that loop of comparison, like, that's like a really icky feeling. So what I've learned to shift that to, and again, this takes practice. It's when you catch yourself, awareness, as we know, is always the first step. So when you catch yourself, that icky feeling, you know what that feels like. So next time you catch yourself in that icky feeling that comparison creates, that's why they call it the thief of joy, because it really does. It's a
Mm.
joy killer. When you notice that icky feeling, have that be the cue for you to shift the way you're interpreting that woman's achievement. Let me give you an example of what I mean. If a woman has say you want to create this, a successful podcast. That's a good example, right? You want to create a successful podcast. Well, you just launched, things are kind of rocky, and you see this woman, she has this successful podcast. She's getting all these amazing guests. Okay. You start to feel icky, you start to go down that rabbit hole. Oh, you notice the feeling. I'm feeling that icky feeling again. Now we're going to shift to, oh my gosh, if she can do it, so can I. You're going to shift it to, let that person inspire you, admire that person's achievement, appreciate that woman's achievement. Let that show you what's possible for you. Let her be your window to what's possible for you, rather than making you feel icky about where you're at now. Let her be inspiring to you, because we cannot expect to attract or achieve the very thing that we resent others for having. It just doesn't work that way. We're not going to be able to create the result that we resent other people for creating. It's like,
Right.
it doesn't make any sense. So you got to shift the way that you're interpreting other people getting what you want. You got to shift it, befriend them, like get curious, ask them questions, like, you will be so surprised what happens in your life and how fast you begin to manifest, attract, create things once you shift that comparison game to appreciation and admiration.
Yeah, and showing you that that's possible for you. They're human like you know, you don't know their story, what they came from, but that no matter what, it's possible for you to look at that, look at it with a lens of appreciation and respect. Like, oh, they did
Respect,
that.
yep.
You know, I could do that. So I'm curious, when you first, I don't know how long your podcast has been out, but when you first started your podcast, or anything for that matter, since you've been in business as a entrepreneur for so long, how did you ever overcome kind of that first hurdle when you possibly didn't know how to do this thing or that thing, this technology, whatever it may be? How did you overcome those hurdles to, you know, continue forward in confidence that you were going to create success or whatever you desired?
Well, my lone wolf listeners, I asked for support. So I did
There you
not try
go.
to do it
Love that.
myself. Like this is like so important. You know, here's the thing. I can tell like you and I are actually very similar. A lot of the women that I attract in my tribe are very, very similar. You know, we have this thing about asking for help, like about asking for support. You have, by the way, it is a big compliment to the other person that you're asking, just so you know. It really is. It always is. Because you're saying, hey, I respect what you've created. Can you give me some
Mm,
tips on what audio equipment do I get? What da da da? Like what did you find? I I will tell you how I created it is I literally pulled all my resources. I asked everyone everything because I'm not trying to reinvent no wheels here. I know I've seen people who have made it work and they're successful. So I'm going to ask them what got them started so that I can create also without having to try to do everything on my own. Ladies, you don't, and men, you don't have to do it all on your own. You have such an abundance of support and resources available to you all the time, and people that would love to help you. I get questions from, and I'm so I want to, you know, I'm going to say right now that anyone who has reached out to, let's say, you know, an influencer, like I've gotten messages from my followers asking me, hey, I'm about to start a podcast episode. Like, I don't know them. Like they follow me, but I don't know them intimately, but they'll message me and say, what podcast gear do you recommend? Well, I answer all my DMs. I respond to them and I give them the answer. And I'm like, respect. You know how many people think, oh, I'm not just going to ask her. I'm not going to ask her because what's the like? She
right.
won't respond to me. She doesn't know me. You don't know because you didn't even freaking try. I asked Gary Vaynerchuk, you know, I get only so many calls with him per year and I like to use them carefully. Well, I sent him an email and I said, hey, I'm starting a podcast. What platform do you recommend I use? Well, I didn't expect him to respond for probably like 5 days to like a week. That's typically like what would happen, right? He responded literally within 1 hour and was like, oh, get this. Imagine if I was like, oh no, he won't respond to that. He did. So get the courage. Again, we're back to courage now to just enlist and ask for support. You don't got to do this alone. I promise you. It's way harder that way. Again, remember jet plane versus boat. Jet plane. Which one do you
There
want to
you
go
go.
on? Like,
I love that. And you know what? I get the same DMs like, how do you do this? What do you use for this and that? And I respond because it sometimes it's a simple response. Like I use this program and I'm
yeah.
happy to help because I got this information from somebody else or I was inspired by somebody else. And so, yes, we are so afraid to ask for help. For the longest time, I was so uncomfortable asking for support. Like, oh, can you share this? And I am still kind of uncomfortable with it, but you know, like you said, we're all here to support one another and most people are willing to do it. So we just have to be like, just ask. You never know what your response is going to be from another person. So it's so important. So I know you're lacking or you have a hard stop today. So I want to make sure I ask a few more questions. So you have a course that is actually, it's magnetic confidence course. I would love to hear what this is and is there still availability to join it? Because I think you just started one recently. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. How I just literally manifested you asking me this question today.
Oh,
Yesterday,
nice.
this is like so amazing that you just asked this. So yesterday, remember I told you I'm working with a business coach. I just hired her. Biggest investment I made in myself to date. And we had a VIP day yesterday. If you guys saw my story, it's still well, it won't be there by the time you air this, but in my story, I probably will add it to my highlight because it was so powerful. You'll see there's the wall is covered with what do you call those big like notepads all over with
okay.
kind of, but just it's papers all over the wall with graphs and drawings and like words. And I'm restructuring everything. I'm so excited that on my way home yesterday, it was 6 hours long, by the way, 6 hours straight, no breaks with her. I ironed everything out that I'm set forth to create. And I felt so in alignment and so excited about what I get to create for women that I was just bawling. I was just bawling in the car drive on the way. And that's when right? When you have a why that makes you cry, that's when you have hit it, man. You have hit it. So I am so amped. So no longer, there will not be a magnetic confidence course. You are the first, your podcast, you
First
get this exclusive. I have not, oh yeah, you're the first person here. I've not even announced it yet. Cause as you know, that was just yesterday. It's so new. No longer magnetic confidence. What I am creating is the next evolution of that. And oh boy, I am so like, I have chills. I'm so excited. So what this is really about is I'm calling it female on fire. Okay, what does it mean to be a female on fire? It means that you have activated your sexuality, sensuality, magnetism, your power, your inner boss, your being, so that you walk away with a fire lit inside of you that so many of us women, come on, have dimmed, have dulled, have repressed, have muted. We reignite that fire inside of you so that you can radiate it out, so that you're lit up from the inside out. You're in command of every room, every situation you walk in. You're that woman that they say they can't forget her name. They're like, oh, there she is. That woman, she is on fire. I just got chills. I don't know about you, but I just got chills.
I got chills hearing about it. I love it. No, it's because I love that. I always think about like just being lit. Like you're so lit up in life and you're just fully alive and living it, and you're, fueled, right? It's amazing.
Okay. You really quick. So here's an example of this really quick. Again, you're going to get another exclusive, girl. You're getting another exclusive. I've never shared this on a podcast yet. So for my boyfriend, my amazing boyfriend, Gerard, I regularly, he's going to laugh that I shared this. I regularly put on shows for him. Okay. Let me tell you what I mean about a show.
Yeah.
I get dressed up. Like I'm talking full blown. I let out parts of my, I express parts of myself that he's the one that he gets to see that. Okay. Cause he's got the key extra to the, exactly. So I have Sapphire, who she's lace. She's blue lace.
She's amazing.
She's sensual. She's sexual. She's beautiful. She's like that, like elegant, feminine, sexual woman. And she's in all lace. I do a whole routine to a song. I start from all dressed up in clothes. I start stripping down slowly. I do put on a whole show for him for 2 songs. Then I have Electra. She's dominatrix. She got a whip. She's got slick back hair and a high pony, and she's whipping her hair around. I do this for my boyfriend. And you know what? I love it. I'm expressing the parts of so many women. Especially if you're like a boss woman and you're in your masculine a lot, right? Like you're focused on running your business. That's great. That's awesome. You're on fire in your business. But then what's happening in the bedroom? What's happening in your feminine side, right? It's about reigniting that, if that's what gets to be reignited. And for me, that's huge. Like I cannot tell you the feeling that I get inside and how sexy I feel about myself when I'm walking around and making eye contact with him, in my confidence, in my radiance, feeling sexy, owning my body, sensual. And that is an expression. That is a woman on fire. So that's the kind of woman that is going to be walking out of this program. Yeah, right. And so like it's like every woman
so good.
Like, who doesn't want to do that for their man? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I will say there's not many women that do that. And I would love to freaking own that. Like I need to be doing something like that. So this is totally like my calling as well, that I want to step into your room and you teach me everything. This
Yeah,
is so
girl.
good. This is so good. I absolutely love it. And we could jam on so much about, just stepping into our life with confidence, courage, just taking ownership of our own life. But I know I'm going to leave it at that because everybody needs to go follow you. And it's Ashley Hann on Instagram, and your website is ashleyhann.com.
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone says Han. It's Han, but all good
Han, I'm
because it
sorry.
happens all the time. People call me Han Solo. They like make fun of me. It's funny. But anyway, so it's Ashley.Hann. Ashley Han. Yeah.
Perfect. Everybody needs to go follow you. You just like light up my life. I love like seeing your videos. And like I said, I love you are just purely authentic and you just radiate light. So I'm so honored to have you on, Ashley. This has been great. And I can't wait to hear when this program launches. So everybody go follow her so you could get the notification when this comes out. And yeah, such goodness. I love it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone listening. Love you all.